basically, I worked with Father Johnson when I was in Holy Trinity. I was leading the youth academies for the young people, and I was also in the parish assembly with him. Honestly, I mean, I couldn't do the job I was doing because we had like 800 students, and we had like 40 catechists, and we were struggling. But whenever you go and approach Father Johnson, right, he sort of like calms you down. And the thing I love about him is that he is super creative. He will come up with ideas. And at one time, we were telling Father, we got 800, no, actually we got 1,600 students at that time. Primary and secondary, as we used to call them. And we had 1,006, we had 80 catechists. And it's really not enough. We were running like 3 sessions a week. So I went up to him and said, we're going to do something about this. People are just like burnt out, right? So he says, why not we get these kids to use these billboards, on their bodies. So after each mass, we'll write words like, we need you, come and help us, sound beautiful. So these kids will sort of like walk after mass, right? And then and the parishioners ask them, hey, what's this? And they'll come to the counters, they fill out their names. And through that exercise, we had quite a good number of catechists, and I remember, and he's always there giving ideas, and how he's never run short of ideas.
From the beginning, from a very young age, I had no inclination towards church, priests, or nuns because I had very unpleasant experiences with them as a teenager. But then 30 years later, Father Johnson changed my concept of all these people over the years at RCIA. Not only is he very knowledgeable, but he's also a very interesting priest, and so was his RCIA classes. And he always had good stories or experiences that relates to our lives. He will always be a person to me, a real priest to me, a priest that really cares. And the only thing I can find in common with Father Johnson actually is that he and I do not, we just we do not color our gray hairs and we just let it grow as it is. So thank you, Father Johnson. I still have a chance to go to heaven because of you.
Father Johnson has been our spiritual director from, my goodness, I think we were together, the nurses and him. We know him so well that, we can sort of pull his leg, but of course with respect, and we are so grateful to him. He is our pillar, and then he gives all the support to, and he will actually help us, especially with retreats and conferences. I remember my daughter was getting married, and my daughter came from Vancouver, and they were going to get married. And frankly speaking, it was supposed to be a mixed marriage, but I don't know. But some of the priests they are not welcoming, where mixed marriages are concerned, and because they are from different religion. But when I approached Father Johnson, no question asked. You just only one word. Did you? I mean, that's very fair, He said, did you do any like a pre-marriage session, which they are not very strong in Vancouver, but my daughter did it, with one of the churches. So he took it, he took our word, don't even ask for any letter from the church in Vancouver. So they got married, and I'm truly grateful to him. And he's so humble, and he does so many marriages that when I told him, this was talking about 20 years, about 21 years ago. When I said, Father, you remembered, that you witnessed, the marriage of Angeline and Khalid. So then he said, did I?
When we were in RCIA, I think it was in the late 1980s, I think. And we had come from some experience. Some overseas visitors came to give us a RCIA week, and it was fantastic. So we wanted to do that for the Holy Family Ministries, okay? And all of us were so excited about it. Really, okay, a lot of planning, because we were bringing all the church leaders to the Punggol Seminary to have a week together. I can't recall what it was, but we were in the core team, and he was just a wet blanket. He just was not like encouraging of us, and we noticed it, you see, and we did not know why. So the core team decided that whether he liked it or not, we were going ahead with it. Okay, and we went ahead with it. He came, he cooperated, but also like not his usual self. Until today, I do not know why. But to me, that was a very valuable experience, because he taught me from not being by not being sort of like 100% for it, and we still went ahead with it. It taught me this lesson that, which he has taught me in other occasions also, that we need not always, the priest need not always be right.
Yes, I knew Father Johnson. He presided my confirmation, and 44 years ago.
Wow.
At St. Teresa's.
Yes, at St. Teresa's Church. So he actually, after that, though I helped in church, but I don't recall much thing about him until 30 years ago. I actually suffered from a major depression. So you know, when a person suffers from depression, they lock themselves up in the house. Don't want to go out, don't want to see people. Only see the world as a very dark place. And to my surprise, Father Johnson came to know about it, and he visited me. He prompted me, encouraged me to go out. And I told him, I don't want to see anybody. I don't feel like it. And he actually asked me, then what would you like to do? And I told him, when I'm down, I always like the sound of the sea. The only place that I will go is the seaside in the night, where there's no one there. And I was very surprised that he said, okay, dress up, I'll bring you. And it's really very surprised, because Father Johnson is very afraid of being seen alone with a female.
Yeah.
So I went with him. It does really help. It does help me for the first step to get out of the house. Then one day he actually brought me out for dinner. And I said, Father, to what I know, you have very little money. He said, it's okay, God will provide. And he actually brought me out for dinner. And as usual, somebody from his church said, hi, Father. And he's very cute. He said, oh no, tomorrow will be big line in the church. So I told him, I said, oh, Father, you're not going with a young thing, you're going with an old lady. And he said, oh, it doesn't matter. Then see, even if you're 100 years old, people still talk. What I'm trying to say is, at the most helpless, hopeless time, he let me see some light.
Wow.
My name is Stephen G. I'm 84 years old. I retired from medical practice 4 years ago. Now, Father Johnson and I, we go back a long time. To be exact, almost 30 to 40 years. And if you ask me to say something about him, I can say without any hesitation. He's a good priest, he's a holy priest, he's a prayerful priest, and a helpful priest. Now, we were in Jasper. We left early in the morning to go white water rafting. So we turned into a little lane, actually a very sandy lane, through a forest actually. And when we reached an open space, there was the river. And there was a little hut near there with a man who's probably managing the place and taking orders. So of course, I went to the shop and I paid the fee. I asked him for a rough for 7 people. And he said, what category? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, quite often there's 6 categories. You see. Category 1, the gentle slope down the river. Category 6, very, very, very rough. I said, no. I said, we were all in our late 50s, early 60s. I don't want anything to happen. So I settled for category 2. So of course, when we left the little hut, he gave us wetsuit. We must wear wetsuit and leather boots, and a towel. So I look around, we're in the forest, where each building of it changed, And then this man pointed to a bus that's nearby, a rickety bus, it's rusting and old. He said, go in and change. So we went in, and a bus is the central aisle, chairs on either side. That's all. Anyway, I started taking off my shirt, my pants. My cousin did the same thing, and the 4 ladies also. And I sensed Johnson was a little bit hesitant, So I said, what to ask him, what's the problem? I think it was a true caution. He started to remove everything also, and put towels around. So I think he's probably the only priest who has changed himself in front of four ladies. It was very funny. Anyway, we had a nice white water laugh.
Hi, everybody. Brother Johnson was my boss for 10 years. I am actually through him I got to know catechetics very well, and he has brought me even to Malaysia to meet up with other catechists. We really had some nice times together in those days. But what I really appreciate about Father Johnson is that when he was the parish priest or assistant priest at Holy Family, he was in charge of catechetics, and he has held the East District catechists so closely together. Those were wonderful times where the 4 parishes in the East, we worked together, we planned together, and looking at it now, I think all that has been lost. And it's very, very sad to see that now everybody's on their own. We really miss those days when we were together in catechetics. Yeah, and I enjoy his stories. He has so many interesting stories. Every time you sit down and meal with him, he's always sharing stories with us. It's always very enlightening. Thank you, Father. It's been really, really great working with you. Thanks.
So eventually, Father became a friend of the family. My father after my mother passed away, my father was a Christian all along. We wanted him to be accepted into the Catholic faith, and his conversion to Catholicism. Father was very good. He helped him to understand more about the Catholic Church. And then my father loved Father Johnson. He's the only priest that he will talk to. So each time when he was old and he was sick or in hospital, he will ask for Father Johnson. And every time we call for Father Johnson, he will come. And we are very grateful for that. And after my father was my brother Paul, who also was suffering from cancer. And Father Johnson, each time he ended up in hospital, we didn't know which priest to call, but we had called Father Johnson, and we're very close to him. My whole family, my nieces and nephews, some of my nieces and nephews were married by him. One of my brothers was married. I think one of my brothers was married by him as well.
So we got to know him more in 2007 when we took on the appointment as Singapore leaders for Worldwide Membership Council. And he was one of the presenting priests. So we made an appointment to speak to him and to ask him whether he had any thoughts of how we could connect with married couples and invite them to our retreat, to our experience. He listened to our concerns and what we had to say. Like what many of you said, he listened, he didn't impose. But after listening for some time, then he threw up some ideas for us to consider. And truly, it was an amazing, out-of-the-box kind of idea at that time. He suggested that we organize an event, have a couple of speakers, and finish off with a mass, a Thanksgiving mass. The first year when we held it, we had a very, very good response from the public, from the people who had never heard of Marriage Encounter even, and of course some of those who had. By the fourth year, we had such an amazing, overwhelming response that we actually had a waiting list for people who wanted to sign up for our weekend experience. It's never happened before, as far as we are aware of in our history. I mean, of course, in the early days, in the 80s, it was very well attended. But through the years, the numbers had started to come down. But because of his book call, we thought at first it was a crazy idea. Could we even do it? Because it needed lots of hands and lots of people to come together. And he was one of the speakers, and the topic he spoke on was on family rituals. And we realized that family life is, he was a good promoter for family life. He was always talking about how we need to speak to our children, how we need to act, love them, and show them by example. And to this day, he's always encouraging us about building our couple relationship, reaching out to the children.
So he's one priest who really shows us what priesthood means. So, middle of last year, in the midst of the pandemic, we were all thinking that we had to do something to reach out to couples who would want to attend a marriage encounter weekend, but who can't at that time because we were not allowed to hold it. So we thought of a Zoom session, and we went over to ask Father, and he said, yes, of course, if the house is closed, as in the marriage encounter house is closed, then we must find another way to reach out to couples. And we said, Father, are you willing to help us co-present the program? He said, sure. And we said, but it will require you to review your talks, and instead of holding it in the whole weekend, we will break it up into 7 nightly sessions. He says, sure. And, he became more and more excited about it, to the extent that we also became more excited because of his excitement. And I think a lot of the community also got very encouraged by the fact that he was like this gung-ho priest, all ready for action. And as it turned out, when we held the sessions from early December, it was really a very good experience for the 19 couples who attended. So it's been a real gift to us that to have a priest in.
And we totally agree that when we come to him for anything, he listens. He doesn't poo-poo and say, no, I don't think you should do it. Then he comes around and we can discuss, should we go ahead? What else could we do? It's very open to that. It's always available.
Yeah.
We were
When I first met him, he was in Holy Trinity. And being a young kid at that time, I used to be quite frightened of him because he's got this very fierce aura at the beginning. But as I got to know him over the years, I think it's one of the greatest blessings in my life, a friendship that I truly treasure. Despite the age difference and everything, it's really like a father whom I can approach so easily and talk about anything. I got to know him a lot better when we moved to Divine Mercy. One thing I admire about him is the idea that he had for the marriage was that it would be a welcoming marriage. And And he really made sure that in everything that we do, in every aspect of building the parish community, it was welcoming. Even for catechetics, he told us from the very beginning that there will be no boundaries. That means you will not say if you don't live in bursaries, we don't take you. It was open, to take anybody from anywhere. And there was no deadline for a catechism registration. It was open all throughout the year. They could come in anytime and join anytime. And that's also because he truly understood the community at hand. Where we have a large group of foreigners who come in at different times of the year. We can't tell them, sorry, wait for next year and all this. He was very open to that. And the way he engaged the Filipino community in the parish, allowing them to have their celebrations. I think we're one of the only parishes that has 9 nights of Simba Kami for the Filipinos to celebrate. And it makes it possible, and people are truly grateful for that opportunity. It makes everybody feel so welcome in the parish. I say that he would be an ambassador for lifelong learning, and his knowledge for technology at his age is amazing. Way better than me. I'm so amazed at his skills with Photoshop and everything. It's just so, he learns it so fast, and he's always ready to learn. And when you go into a new gadget, he's so excited to learn, and then you will figure out and you will try. And it's amazing, and something that I hope, if I'm at his age, God willing, I live until his age, that I would have that same energy and vigor to learn and to grow in so many ways. His affinity with children is truly commendable. The way he relates to them, how the kids love to high-five him at the foyer. And he always makes himself very approachable. After every Mass, whether he celebrates the Mass or not, he's at the foyer, there ready to greet the parishioners, and his presence really brings warmth and comfort to everybody's life. But I think the many initiatives he did has left a lasting impact on the parish, and I hope that this week, as the parish grows, it continues to remain such. But I truly treasure the friendship because we still keep in touch, meet quite regularly, and I always enjoy the time we can meet and talk. You can just tell him anything. He's so frank. If he doesn't agree with you, he'll tell you. He's very honest, and I appreciate that very much. We have very honest conversation. So
exciting, creative. Okay, and that was how he was when I first came to Holy Family and joined the RCIA. I didn't know what RCIA was about, but I just felt that I needed to do something. I wasn't impressed by him in the beginning because he looked so stern, right? Not very friendly sometimes. But since he was in charge of RCIA, okay lah, so went along with it. And oh my goodness, within a short period of time, a year or two, he helped us, not just me and the team at RCIA, to open our eyes to what evangelization, what liturgy could be. As Leonard was sharing, and also a few of you, his creativity, anything, and because at that time RCIA was still quite new, we all learned the RCIA document together with him. So all of us were carrying the document in our bags every evening into his room to learn new things. And the wonderful thing was that he always allowed us to try. We never always succeeded, but he never said there was no reprimand or anything like that. Just let's try another way. So I think a lot of his creativity and his knowledge, certainly because he was surrounded by lots of books, and he and his media made the team at the RCIA team at Holy Family a very strong one. I dare to say it because I really believe it was because it was really learning and being open to what the Spirit prompted us to do, and to his knowledge and his experience. So I like to give him credit for that. And personally, because of the RCIA journey, it also opened my heart and my mind to this God of ours a lot more. I mean, I think during those times, during all the holidays that we went to, he never expected any of us to pay for him. It was made very clear in the beginning, okay? Any expenses is divided by 7, and everything was equal. He never expected us to, even fork out a single cent for him, which I thought was very good of him, meaning that people would easily pay for him, but he was very firm.
grow, so everything was divided by 7. And I made sure of that because sometimes I was the treasurer, so collected every cent from him. But I was grateful for that, he never took people for granted.
Okay, I think I know Father the shortest time in this group because I know him only in 2013 when I came to Singapore. So he's a very fatherly figure. So I know him through RCIA when he gave sessions. It was a different impact. He tells even RCIA, he starts with a story, same like home. Yeah, that's his specialty, and he attracts children. So, and his stories are so amazing. It's very simple yet very amazing. One of my personal encounter with Father Johnson is during the journey in the RCI journey, he told me "Hey Prasad, I will definitely celebrate your wedding." At that time, I have no idea where I'll get married. I always thought that I'm going back to India to get married, and I don't know when I'll get married, and all these things. But true enough, last year, even during pandemic, he was my celebrant for my wedding, and in Singapore. It's really amazing. He's like a very fatherly figure for me, and I'm really glad that I know him, and I really wish him well. Yeah.
You have taught, Father Johnson, you have taught us more than you know.
Thank you for being a blessing.
Father, I would not be what I am today. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for all that you've done for us, and God bless you.
Thank you, Father, for being a friend. And we wish you all the best. And
May the good Lord continue to bless you richly with good health, peace, joy, and happiness. And may your heart's desire for the church be fulfilled. God bless you, Father.
Father, we are so grateful for your love for all marriages and families. You've given so much of yourself to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for stretching our minds to see and achieve what is possible. Thank you, and we love you, Father Johnson.
Thank you, Father, for being a fatherly figure.
Father, just keep going and going and going and don't stop because you have a lot more to give.
Amen.